Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Q&Play, my monthly Q&A series where I answer your questions in a rambly, unscripted format. The first question comes from Sanodai21. Really hope I got that right. A common staple to tabletop role-playing game horror stories is a paladin being a total nightmare because they want to justify it as what their god would do / what their character would do. Besides the boot, how would you handle a paladin or any holy class breaking their oath and losing their connection with their god? For starters, I don't know if this is what you're trying to do, but this is kind of straying into in-game consequences for an out-of-game problem. If you have a problem player paladin who is using their god or their oath as an excuse to be a douchebag, then that's something you gotta talk about outside the game. No matter what punishments you put in the game, it is not going to solve anything. When I talked to Crit Crab about this exact same topic, he said, if video games have taught me anything, seeing enemies means I'm going in the right direction. Honestly, putting obstacles in the paladin's path might just drive them to be even more problematic. So yeah, have a discussion outside the game. Don't use their god to punish them. But if a paladin is acting in good faith and breaks their oath in the game, then honestly, I don't really know how I'd handle that because I'm not the kind of DM who really goes hard on the paladin oath. Like, if a paladin starts acting blatantly, ridiculously evil, then like, yeah, obviously I'm gonna do that. But I know my paladin player isn't gonna do that, so I don't need to worry about it too often. The closest he got to straying from his oath is when he almost got tricked into killing an angel, a holy son of his own god. But honestly, even in that situation, it would have been kind of weird because it was a trick, it was a lie, though of course he fell for it, and as a paladin, he should probably be better than that. But the point is moot because the paladin saw through the trick and didn't break his oath anyway. I will say that I think the oath breaking needs to be clear. Like in Baldur's Gate 3, sometimes the Oathbreaker Knight guy will just show up out of freaking nowhere and take away my powers, and it's so annoying. Like, if a Dungeon Master did that in an actual D&D game, that would genuinely piss me off. I want there to be at least some kind of forewarning or like a clear indication that this will break your oath. In Baldur's Gate, it just feels like an annoying chore that you don't want to do and a gold sink for when you have too much money. But in D&D, it can be a story, a plot line for your paladin that can be extremely interesting. But you gotta talk to the paladin about it, because if you don't do it right, it can just be a problem, and drive them to problem player behavior if you do it really, really wrong. Next question comes from xionkuriyama, 5697. Any ideas for making an escort mission fun? I'm making a one-shot, and I'm thinking escorting some fun characters somewhere, but we all know how much people hate that in video games. Okay, look. So in video games, the mechanics are very, very different from a tabletop game. In video games, you need to like manually follow a character, and traditionally, a lot of games have it so that the character moves at a specifically very slow pace just to pad out game time. As long as you don't do something like that, you shouldn't have a problem. In D&D, the padding out would be different. You'd be padding out the session time, or maybe having a side quest that extends over multiple games for no reason. But since you're doing a specific one-shot, taking place on one session, then that isn't going to be a problem. I think another big part of escort missions is that the thing you're escorting, the person you're escorting, sometimes is very boring. In Destiny 2, my least favorite strike is Lake of Shadows, and at the beginning of that strike, there is an escort the payload bit, where you're just escorting some thing that I don't care about. But there's a similar escort the payload mission in World of Warcraft, where you escort two bickering dragon brothers the whole time, and that was a lot more fun. The characters were interesting to listen to, they were funny as hell, and that mission was fun. Now take that lesson and apply it to D&D or any tabletop game that you're playing. If you are trying to escort something, make the thing you're escorting interesting. If it's a person, give them a personality, have them interact with the player characters. Maybe it's multiple people, maybe they have a dynamic. Make the thing that's being escorted something the players care about, and the quests will be a hell of a lot more fun every time. Question from MelvinBisonSA. Outside of your live plays, what's been your favorite collab / video you've done with another YouTuber? That is easy. Anything I do with Alessia from Fall Cosplay. That is just a clear answer for me. The two of us can talk for hours upon hours on end. In fact, the very first time we met, we spent hours off camera just chatting about life after we had already stopped recording. It was honestly just wonderful to have her on the show. At this point, she's been on Tavern Adjacent 3 times now, and every single episode has been accompanied by a lengthy off-camera conversation because we just like hanging out with each other. We follow each other on Instagram, we text sometimes. It's great. Of those episodes, I think my favorite would have to be our latest one. I mean, we were discussing a horror story, so obviously, you know, that's gonna be the one that is dearest to my heart. What can I say? I'm a drama girly who just loves spilt tea, and there was plenty in that podcast. This is not me trying to be a downer on anyone else I collab with. To make this clear, I very rarely have a collab that I'm not super excited for. I mean, I come out of discussions with Bob Worldbuilder, with Crit Crab, smiling and chuckling to myself because I just like talking to people in this space. It's really great. The people I collab with, I like all of them. Honestly, it would be a challenge for me to point to somebody I didn't like collaborating with. I mean, I could do it. I'm not going to do it out loud, but, you know, I could do it. But, you know, it's hard. Most people, the vast majority, 95, 99%, I've loved very dearly. Next question from Sellesion. What is your favorite D&D species / lineage? And is it the mechanics or build for roleplay potential? All right, so what's my favorite race? Of all the races in the world, which one is the one that I like the most? The best race out of all of them. I adore the fact that this joke barely makes sense because this person specifically said species / lineage. You see what the woke has done to us? I can't make jokes worthy of a middle schooler anymore. Ugh. I'm kidding. Look, in terms of my favorite D&D species, I'm gonna say basic. I like elves, I like humans, and I like tieflings. I make a lot of them. As I was writing out my lore, I realized how much of it is based around humans or human-looking races, and I just think it's because I'm more accustomed to it. But I think a big reason for that is because my campaigns, my entire homebrew world, started on a continent where the primary conflict was between elves and humans. So there is a lot of elf and human lore. I have developed kingdoms and cultures and history between elves and humans. I have developed a lot of history around Karakonos, a city where there are a lot of tieflings and humans, hence why I like tieflings and humans. The more I work on the lore of a specific species in my homebrew, the more I'm going to enjoy them. It's honestly not for mechanics or roleplay potential that I grow fond of some kind of lineage. I grow fond of a lineage because of the lore that I write. I have grown more fond of the Dragonborn over time, or Draconians in my world, because their land of Draconia has gotten a lot more lore. I have written out a whole history for it, a religion for it, and now Draconians have a special place in my heart. And I'm hoping that over time, I will grow this fondness for all of the species of D&D, so that I love all races equally. I want to be colorblind, D&D colorblind. Alright, I gotta stop that before I get in trouble. Okay, next question from Speedy Rocket Bot 959. Do you have a favorite moment or least favorite moment from your 10th Tomb series? Spoilers for my 10th Tomb actual play series, obviously. So, I think a least favorite moment would be really hard because I love that series very dearly, but I will say Episode 2 was a low point in terms of my performance as a dungeon master because I had a straight up anxiety episode. I don't think it was a full-blown panic attack. I think it got close to that point, but it wasn't quite there. I did have a lot of anxiety though. I needed to take a break just because I was hyperventilating, and obviously that was very bad for the audio quality. If you're wondering why the episode is significantly shorter than the others, it's because so much of the time was spent sorting out technical difficulties and sorting out my own mental health issues. And I was like trying to push through, and it was just not good for me, man. It was not good at all. Now I will say, that episode also has one of my favorite moments from the campaign, and that is when Cleo gives Yumi, an NPC that I was playing, a dress for a ball. Even though Yumi was not going to the ball, it was really sweet that Cleo, the character played by Fall Cosplay, who I mentioned earlier, Cleo had been really cold towards Yumi for a long time, but in that moment she revealed that she really did care. She had gotten Yumi specifically addressed that fit her, that matched her tastes, and most importantly, she had done it for no reason. It's not like Yumi needed this dress. She was specifically not going to the ball that the rest of the party were attending. So why did Cleo do that? She did it because she wanted to acknowledge Yumi. And on the other hand, my other favorite moment is when Cleo betrayed Yumi, shocking the whole party. I mean, fall cosplay shocked all of us, seriously, when she decided to turn Yumi over to a man who was going to hurt her, and that was all terrifying. I mean, for me as a DM, I did not expect that to happen at all. I didn't know what to do, but the thrill of figuring it out, of finding my way through the quagmire of this moment, it was so fun, and the collaboration between all the players, it was great, and that whole situation ended with a confrontation between Yumi and Cleo, in which Yumi throws the dress back at Cleo, the same dress that she had gotten her. And following all this up, my favorite moment from the campaign is when the two of them reconcile. Oh, and of course they quickly fall in love and form a problematic enemies to lovers romance, which, yeah, the gays won this time, guys. The gays won. Those moments between me and Fall were just really great, but besides that, I mean, after the show, I went through every single player character to give them a little compliment, to compliment them on a specific moment, because for every single person, they all blew me away with their roleplay, with their characters. The whole show was amazing. It's basically the coolest project I've ever done, and God, I love it to death. Next question from Majin Kool-Aid. What are some of your favorite video game RPGs to play? Oof. Back during Mists of Pandaria, I loved World of Warcraft. I got started in Cataclysm, but really fell in love during Mists of Pandaria. I just loved the ambiance. And then, of course, World of Warcraft Legion eventually came out after a dud expansion of Warlords of Draenor, and Legion was just phenomenal. But besides multiplayer RPGs, I also really enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3. Like many D&D fans, that game blows me away. And Cyberpunk 2077, the game you're seeing in the background here, another RPG I really love. Both games that I played fairly recently, and both games that blew me away. BG3 I do love from a gameplay perspective more. Like, I can play BG3 for a really long time just based on satisfying CRPG gameplay. Whereas Cyberpunk, I think the first-person shooting is pretty good, but I mean, I also play games like Destiny where the first-person shooting is just out of this world amazing, even if that game has other problems. But God, Cyberpunk's immersion, it is such an immersive game with such incredible characters, with, in my opinion, a lot more impactful moments than what I experienced in BG3. Not to say I don't adore the characters of BG3, but there were a lot of times where I felt like I missed out on moments between my character and those characters, and I really think that sucks, because I'm doing a new playthrough of BG3 now, and I'm realizing, like, oh wow, that moment never happened, and that moment never happened, and it's not like I'm rushing through. Whereas Cyberpunk, I feel like I can go out of my way and experience everything I want to experience out of that game with the characters that I love. Both games are incredible, and both are best-in-class RPGs that I absolutely recommend. Next question from Teenage Gone 3822. What's your favorite cupcake flavor? The people need to know. Cupcakes are amongst, if not my least, favorite dessert of all time. I will eat a chocolate cupcake if there's literally nothing else, but otherwise, I prefer not to eat cupcakes at all. I do not like them. They remind me of birthday parties for kids I didn't know that I didn't want to go to. Final question from Easiest CC6451. What do you do when you're a DM and you get nervous to the point where you can't speak properly anymore? I have gotten to that point very few times in my life, and I will say I'm quite fortunate to be blessed with some dang good improv skills. One of the only skills that I am pretty proud of. But even with those skills, I have had moments where I need to take a breather, step back away from the session. In fact, during some particularly bad sessions, sometimes it's best to just let it go. That's only happened once to my memory because, frankly, I love DMing. I love playing with my friends. So even if my game prep is not the best in class, my friends are going to enjoy it, which means I'm going to enjoy it. However, on the other side of that, there have been, for example, downtime sessions where I'm just not giving the players enough to do. And because of that, it leads to them not being very engaged. I'm not engaged. I'm not having fun. I get nervous, and that means it's time to take a breath. I have a lot of problems with anxiety, like I said earlier, and the 10th Tomb, even. That actual play, you wouldn't know by watching the series, but there was a moment where I had to take a break. Seriously, just walk into the next room. For me, the solution to anxiety often lies in music. Just tune on a song I really like, breathe in, breathe out, take a walk. Anxiety is energy. Your body is gathering up energy. It thinks that there is a threat, and that means that a good way to get rid of anxiety is to expel that energy. Work out, lift weights, go touch grass. I'm not even kidding. Go outside and take a walk. I mean, that has been really helpful for me, especially with anxiety attacks, because I'm hyperventilating, I'm freaking out, I feel like there's a threat or danger, but I just need to go outside and get some of that energy out, expel it, so to speak, not in a spiritual sense, but just in like a literal, I'm hyperactive and I just need to chill, tire myself out a little bit, and it helps. It helps a lot, and it only takes like 10 minutes. I'm workshopping doing a video on anxiety in D&D, especially since Ginny D just made her panic attack, paid D&D in a castle video, and that video was really awesome and honest, and I want to talk about my own experience with anxiety in D&D because I think it's important for all of us to do that. But, yeah, there you go. Hope that helped you. But, in any case, with that being said, all that done, it's time, my friends, to end this video. If you guys enjoyed, then you might enjoy our last episode with Fall Cosplay. It was a great one. Like I said, lots of tea. It's linked in the cards. But before you go, please do leave a like on this video and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own questions or thoughts, go down into the comments down below. If you can think of a comment, leave the comment, "Don't fear the Reaper," to reference the game playing in the background and to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell.